So this is your 11th visit to Ukraine. How worried are you about the situation here?
Well, I think I'm as worried as the first time, in the sense that for as long as the war continues, we can never relax. There could be moments where in the assessment of some, the situation is more serious, more dire, and there are other moments where people are led to believe that things are more stable. I don't buy any of these extremes of the spectrum. For us, it is all about being present, being ready. We have had, on a very short notice, very, very serious situations, complete blackouts at the nuclear power plants, attacks, shelling, other situations which at first sight do not appear to be as serious, but they are, technically speaking. So we are, on the action, and we are always ready.
What's your biggest fear in a country like this, in the state of war that we're in here?
Well, this is the first time that you have a conventional war of the dimension of this one in a country that is very nuclear, civilian nuclear, I mean. Pre-war, 50% of the energy, a bit more even, came from nuclear power plants, with these big sites, including Zaporizhia, 15 nuclear reactors and everything that comes with them as associated facilities. So dozens of thousands of nuclear material around in the country, and of course that was so important. So from that perspective, nuclear power plants need to be protected, could be subject to attack, or indirectly to situations like losing external power, or, as in the case of Zaporizhia, seizure and occupation, and then a complete new set of circumstances are in motion. And for us, as an agency, it was also a completely new situation, and we had to adapt to it and see how best to respond to it, using our technical expertise and other things. So it's a huge thing for us.
You say it's a huge thing, and obviously the risk of a mistake is very significant here, even if you set aside something being targeted.
Yeah.
What does a nuclear mistake look like for Ukraine, for Europe, for the wider world?
Well, you mentioned nuclear mistake. I would be bolder and talk about a nuclear accident. And a nuclear accident could be the moment where, by action or omission or by a concurrence of circumstance, you have a massive radioactive release into the atmosphere. Could be by direct shelling. Don't forget, the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant was shelled directly, and then it was subject to attacks of a relatively minor impact, but still concerning, with drones and things like this. Or you can have a blackout where you lose power, you lose cooling of the nuclear power plant, then you have a meltdown. So all of these things combine to create a set of circumstances where you have to be on alert, trying to, for us, as much as we can, we are an international organization, to prevent that. And you try to prevent that by engaging, by being present, and so on. This is what we have been trying to do for almost 3 years now.
But I'm guessing the longer this war goes on, the greater the risk of that accident.
Yes,
and the damage that
I would
brings.
agree with that. I would agree with that because, first of all, there is a degradation of the infrastructure. And my today's visit is focusing on that. This time I will not be visiting Zaporizhia. I will go very, very soon. I will return soon. But today, my focus are the substations. The substations are the places, the switch yards, where the energy produced by any power plant, thermal or whatever, come and then it's redistributed to the national grid. And then a substation can become a point which, if knocked out, then immediately affects a nuclear power plant, which supposedly should not be affected, or is at thousands of kilometers or miles from the place. So this is why we offered last year. When I came in summer, there had been a very important attack on the energy infrastructure in August. So I offered President Zelensky to make an assessment and provide recommendation and do a number of rounds and visits of the different substations to assess the situation. This is what we have been doing.
We've heard a lot recently about the United States and its potential review of what support Ukraine will get. How big a risk is there to the nuclear situation if the US changes the support it gives Ukraine?
Well, that I think refers more to the war and to the military effort than what is happening with the nuclear power plants. I must say,
air defences, I'm guessing, are quite significant when it comes to that.
I must say that when it comes to that, we are in discussion also with Russia. From here, I go to Moscow. And this is something I have been doing from day one. I've been talking to both sides, all right? And I think there is a clear conscience that attacking a nuclear power plant is a no-go, a direct attack. And this we have not seen. The beginning of the war, there was some shelling, unclear circumstances that happened, and at that moment we became very vocal. We got involved. I went to the United Nations Security Council. I established a number of principles that should be followed, which by and large, in terms of kinetic direct attacks on a nuclear power plant, massive attacks on nuclear power plant have not occurred. We have had drone episodes, we have had things that are of concern, but not massive missiles going into a nuclear power. I mean, this is most probably something you're not going to see. But the danger continues to be there. And as to your question, as to, with the passage of time, things are getting worse because, for example, of what I mentioned the degradation of the grid and the fatigue, the stress of people working at these plants. There are so many angles to this that require assistance and support, which of course contribute to this idea that the longer this goes, of course, the proportion of, or the probability rather, the probability of something happening increases. Yes.
What's the message that you will take to President Putin when you leave here for Russia?
Well, I think more than a message is a constant technical interaction that we have. And it has very technical dimensions, what we see, what we assess, what we want both sides to do or not to do. So for me, it is absolutely essential that we, in general, I would say, in general, there is a message that we have been passing to all, which could boil down to 2 or 3 ideas that I think is more common sense than nuclear science. Don't attack a nuclear power plant, never ever. Don't turn a nuclear power plant into a military base, never ever, and so on.
Who do you think is the greater threat now in terms of nuclear security? Russia, Iran, the United States?
I think nuclear security, or there you are involving a number of different problems. The nuclear safety or the nuclear security, which pertains more to a circumstance like the war we are seeing here, then you are throwing into a pot something different, which is nuclear non-proliferation, which is the fact that countries that do not at present have nuclear weapons may wish to acquire those. And I think that everything is relevant for us. What we are doing here is preventing a nuclear accident. What we're doing in the Middle East is trying to avoid that to a cauldron like the Middle East is now you add a nuclear military capability as it would be if Iran decided to cross that line. And so it's a constant effort, and each problem you tackle in a different way.